is it possible to be authentic online? And what does authenticity mean on social media?
It's just because we're all tired of that curated, too filtered aspect of people's lives and people's content.
Welcome to the Social Edge podcast. I'm Georgia.
And I'm Ishu.
And we're E Studios. We're a video and social media marketing agency. And we've started this podcast to talk about the unspoken truths behind social media.
Yes.
So we're going to be covering a whole load of topics. This is our first episode.
How exciting.
It's very exciting. We've wanted to launch this for a long time.
Yeah.
But we're going to cover some really cool topics. Everything from imposter syndrome to who's actually winning on social media. But today we're kicking it off with a really cool topic and something that everyone is really talking about, which is it possible to be authentic online? And what does authenticity mean on social media?
Absolutely. What a great topic to kick off. I'm so excited about this podcast. We've been
excited.
Dreaming about it for a long time and we're putting it together. So if you're just joining, we hope that this inspires you, encourages you, and really helps you take the right steps in the direction that benefits your content creation.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it. I think one of the biggest things that we want to unpack as our first question is what does authenticity actually mean on social media, and what does that look like for us individually and ultimately corporately as part of E Studios?
Yeah, so it probably works to just start with like what kind of clients we service on social media, because then we can apply it to them.
Yeah.
And hopefully this applies to you.
Yes.
So we tend to help people who are either launching their personal brands or their business brands. So when we're looking at this question, we're saying, what does authenticity actually mean on social media? And how can you be authentic with your social media? So I think when we're just looking at the basics, to be authentic, whether that's for your business account or your personal brand, your social media should be really an extension of who you are as a business or as an individual. So it's like your social media should be consistent with who you are in real life. You shouldn't be portraying one image on social media and then another image in real life.
That's it.
And the reason is, obviously, otherwise it might catch up with you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people are going to commit to either like buy your services or follow you.
Yeah.
And if you're not matching up your personal brand, for example, with who you are in real life, it's going to catch up with you. It's going to become too hard to keep up that charade.
Absolutely.
And also, if it's the other side, if it's your business and you're making claims that aren't true, your clients are going to find that out, and it's going to cause you to have bad reviews, chargebacks, all these different things.
Yes.
So it's really important. Yes, put yourself in the best light, but you don't necessarily have to be untruthful in that.
Absolutely.
So I think that is a really great starting point of what authenticity really is like on social media.
Absolutely. And I think, just to echo what you're saying here, I think the important part for people to understand is really identify what your personal belief, value, and message you have that you want to communicate to people in the most authentic way, in front of camera and behind it. We want to make sure that people fully understand not only what they're trying to communicate, but the way they communicate it. Because people buy from people, they connect with people, and through connection, the relationship building is what creates growth. It's what scales businesses, right?
Yeah. So if we're going to peel back this question a little bit further of what does authenticity actually mean on social media, what we need to think about is is it possible to be authentic on social media, given that the way that social media has developed in the past, when social media first came about, Bebo, MySpace, MSN, Facebook, first in the early days, it was social. It was an opportunity for you to connect online with people and, share your updates, but also connect. Share photos, embrace one another. The question is that happening now, or is all content purely curated? And is there such thing right now as real authentic content? Because sometimes even the authentic content is actually curated content.
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
I mean, let's unpack this a little bit more, because a while back I sent you this video of this lady that put her camera up at 5 a.m. The light is on, and she's coming out of bed.
A momfluencer.
Literally, trying to show people, oh, this is me. And, how authentic is that? You've already gotten up, a bit miserable probably, but on the tripod, the camera chose the angle, put the lighting on, gone back into bed and gone, oh, oh, you know?
Yeah.
So that is curated to an extent where you're going, oh, let me show people what it's like. But actually, the authentic aspect is you going, waking up and going, oh, I have to put up the camera. I have to show people what it's like. And it's going, well, is that really it? Or could you put the tripod as you're waking up and going, guys, I've just opened my eyes. Let's go and make breakfast, right? Pop it next to you, make breakfast or whatever it is. I think it comes down to really people allowing the online space to see as much as they want them to see. For example, you have recently, you know, began a journey with your personal brand online. You, as of recently, have become a mom. You're now embracing the journey of becoming, you know, really developing your motherhood ability, understanding how to manage that lifestyle, the business, and all of that sort of stuff on top of your personal brand, trying to really understand, okay, how much do I want to let people in to that? And what do I want them to see? Because people will only get what you give them and vice versa.
So I think that's like, it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like a blessing and a curse. So the blessing of that for anyone who is like building a personal brand or if you're a business is that the beauty of social media is that you get to put out what you choose to put out. Now, you're not obligated to show the world every finer detail of your life. You don't have to show all your bad bits. Like that's your prerogative, your privacy, your human right. You don't have to share that with the world. But at the same time, if you are going to share elements of yourself, people want to know that it is what you're telling them the truth. So I think that's where it really comes down to, is that coming back to that piece of content you mentioned, you know, I think people engage with that kind of content because it's like, it's almost like relatable, right? So there's like relatable content and it has been curated and it's not really what's happening. Like, for example, a mum will probably be up at like every hour of the night and putting their baby back to bed. But for a mum to like record that, sometimes for me, it's like, well, gosh, how long did that take you? You know? And why are you not looking after your baby? But the thing is, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, that's the truth behind some of this content. It's like, yes, it's authentic, but at the same time, is it like curated? Then I have seen other people do similar things where they just always have their cameras on and then they just share clips of that real moment. And I think that's really beautiful because that is like, you are opening up your world to like your followers and you're saying, come on in and like have a little look at what's going on. Absolutely. Like we were laughing because on our way to filming this podcast, it's pouring down with rain, torrential rain. And I was like rolling up my like trousers. They were all soaking. I was like rolling up my trousers. I had my dad's like packer Mac on and I was like carrying all my bags. And I thought, oh, I'll just make a joke about this and start recording some of this content because it'll be a funny like day in the life.
That's it.
Now, you know, in one sense, it's like, it's a bit crazy to just start filming things like that because, and you might not think to, because you're just like, this is an annoying moment and I've just got to get to the podcast. But what creators are doing is they're like catching some of these like real moments and then they're later on like turning that into a piece of content.
Absolutely.
I think there's like one thing that I've been sort of trying to adapt for myself because I'm so used to doing it for clients, but like doing it for myself is another thing. But trying to realize like there's maybe an opportunity for content in every moment.
Absolutely.
And kind of grabbing those moments and not then like, because like I suppose it's not inauthentic to just share, like for example, I could just share the podcast, right? And I wouldn't show that messy part from before. But if I am going to show the messy part, I get to choose like how I share it. I think that's what I'm talking about here, like the blessing and the curse. It's like you get to choose how you present it, but like I think your followers and your community, as you sort of develop one, they're looking to see, okay, are you really who you say you are? And if not, it'll probably catch up with you. So I think that's where authenticity and social media come in. And it is now sort of like, because people like this sort of relatable content, the stuff we're talking about, it has become sort of like a branding tool to share like the behind the scenes, the real moments, these moments where it's like unpolished, uncurated. But like I think the funny fact is that like with social media, everything's a little bit curated.
That's it. 100%.
You know, because you've had to still upload that.
Yeah.
You've still had to, like, even if it's you're sat leaving like a camera on a time lapse and you're working for the day, and even if you're not actively like producing content, but you're just recording your day, you've still gone to the effort of setting up that camera. So there's an element of where it all is curated. But I guess for you, if you're a creator or if you're a business, like portraying your business, what you want to do is you want to just bear in mind that to just present yourself as your true self, like as in like the true business that you are, the true person that you are, you know, and what you're trying to put out in the world, and not kind of try to be everything, and don't, you know, this sort of the idea of perfection, like try and get rid of the idea of perfection. You don't have, like, some people are just perfect in some ways, right? I have a friend, she always blew me away because she's always really well put together. I'm a little bit less like that. So I'm always like the person that's juggling a lot of things. I always have been, even before I was a mum, always juggling a lot of things. Like I'm always running. I'm always running from one thing to the next. I'm always rushing. I always pack too much stuff into my day. It's probably because I'm like neurodivergent and I'm just undiagnosed. But the reality is that's not me. I'm not really as put together as some people. She is like notoriously slow. So like if ever we're together, she's like slow. Like everything's slow. She's like really leisurely and like and she like doing her makeup. Like her makeup's always perfect. But it's because like she takes the time to do it. Now, I love that for her. And there's elements where I want to try and be a little bit more like that, like a little bit slower and slow down. And that's something I have to actively try to be. But like if I were to put up a portrayal online as if I was like this super slow person, like, you know, super pulled together all the time, that would be a very hard image for me to continuously try to maintain.
That's it.
So instead, I'm trying to build a personal brand around the realities of myself, which is like, I'm a mother, I'm a business owner, multi-business owner, an agency CEO, I'm balancing all these different things. And yes, sometimes it is a little bit messy, but that's my truth.
But it's almost like where your priorities are, right? At this moment in time in your life, you are okay prioritizing this part of your life and making sure that you're actually okay with it.
Yeah, it's just being okay with, I think it's like an acceptance of who you are. And then,
absolutely.
So I feel like then online, that has to expand. Like, so your online present should be a reflection of really where you are and where you're going. And it doesn't need to be the end result or the finished product, but just a journey. And I think that's what's working on social media right now in terms of authenticity. It's just being like honest about where you are on the journey, sharing that journey with your audience. Like one thing I shared with someone the other day, they were basically saying to me, well, I have all these different elements of my business and the difficulty I'm finding is like, how do I put this and this and this and this and this and not confuse my audience? Should I just niche down? Should I have multiple accounts? And I just said to her, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Like she was saying, should I do like 6 weeks of one area of content and then 6 weeks of the other? And I said, well, if you just do 6 weeks of one area of content and then you don't do it for like 3 times 6, your audience are going to be really confused because imagine someone starts following you because of that piece of content, then you don't do it for 18 weeks. They're going to be like, oh, so is that even what you're about? So what you're better off doing is just being honest. I am a multi-business owner and my business spans these areas. And so my content pillars are going to touch on all these different areas of my life. That's probably going to be a better way to share your truth and just being honest about it. There's strategy behind that, by the way. Like you don't want to confuse your audience. You don't want to be all over the place. And there's ways that you can make sure your strategy shares that in a way that isn't going to overwhelm people. But I think just not trying to like, we are humans, right? Like at the end of the day, social media is an extension of humanity. Like it's what we're using right now as a tool. Human beings are multifaceted. A lot of the people we're working with, they're multi-business owners or they have loads of different interests. Businesses might have different revenue streams. You can be strategic in presenting the truth and do it in the right way without losing who you are and without confusing your audience. It's just, that's where strategy comes in how you present yourself on social media.
I love that. And the way, as you were speaking just then, it made me think of when you look at a situation or content or just something that you want to create, when it's in close up, it's intimate, it could be dramatic, it could be intense, but when it's zoomed out, when you look at a situation from a distance, it could be quite humorous, it could be quite distant, it could be something that, makes the audience feel like, oh, I had a glimpse, right? And then they can come in and have the close shot of my day-to-day, the close stories,
I think loads of the social platforms have created room to build that community. So
my gosh.
broadcast
Yes.
channels, private communities, that's all possible. So you don't always have to put the full detail to the wider audience. You can bring it to an intimate group. And I like that idea, because that's a really great way of kind of what you're saying, I think, is that you can just sort of give people a taste. And then if you want to, you can bring them further closer. But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
It's one of the things that we've decided is that for our public accounts, we're not going to share our daughter's face.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I can't share her on my socials. I just share, I'm just strategic in how I share photos of her, with, her not looking or things like that. Or even put a little emoji on her face. Yeah. So I just use that as an example. Just because you only want to share an element of something or just one, a slight look into it, doesn't mean you have to completely exclude it. It's just being strategic on how you do it. And that's just one example of doing that.
But there's a massive audience of parents that actually would love that.
Yeah.
Would actually go, oh, I'm going to follow Georgia because that resonates with me. I also did the same thing on my profile. And maybe that will give them ideas of how to share that message without showing their kids' face.
Well, it's a lot of creators right now are creating faceless YouTubes, faceless social media platforms. And they're doing that probably because they want to maintain that bit of privacy, but they still want to share what they have with the world.
Absolutely.
I think that's actually, if that suits you, that's your way of doing it. And for businesses can sometimes be faceless brands and still use faces, or they whether that's using AI or using UGC content. So there's ways that you can add a human touch without the owners, for example, being the face of the brand.
Absolutely.
Is that still authentic? Yes. It's just a decision that you've made on how you want to present it. So I think it's a bit of an iceberg, when we're talking about this topic, because it's deeper and deeper and deeper as we go into it. But I think it's a really great starting point, because I think it comes back to the whole idea when it comes to social media is you have so much freedom and opportunity to do what suits you and your brand. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to follow the crowd, or don't feel like you have to copy someone else. Be your true self, and that's gonna, or be if you're a business, walk your path. What's that saying? Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Just stay in your lane. Don't keep jumping to do what others are doing. If it suits you to, for example, not show your face, don't feel empowered, don't feel like you have to show your face.
The pressure, right?
But equally, if you want to have a personal brand, don't feel like you have to do it just the same as someone else did it. Right? There's room to do it how you want to do it.
Absolutely. And I just want to add to that, because everybody has a story and they have something to say. And there's space for people. I think often we feel the pressure of Stephen Ballett is doing the podcast. Why should I start a podcast? Or this person has a radio. Right? They have a video marketing agency, or they have this, that, and the other. Reality is they might, but his story is what makes it authentic and brings his audience. And you also have a story, touching back on your kind of law experience, being a lawyer, then becoming an entrepreneur, then a mom, then a multiple business owner. There is so much value and things that you can add to audiences that are just starting out in this space, or maybe haven't started, but they had the burden of going, oh, I thought about this. I want to start it.
And I love that. And that's always been my attitude. I am not someone that thinks a market's too infiltrated or there's too many podcasts. Actually, I completely agree with that point. We've all got a message. We've all got something we want to give to the world. And even if what you have to share only helps one person, then you've still helped a person.
You like to say you have a piece or there's a piece of the pie for you.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's there's a piece of the pie for everyone, and it's not that there's not enough pie to go around. It's actually that you can claim your piece and put it out there. So I think with social media, you might think, oh, well, there's so many mum influencers, or there's so many forex traders, or there's so many property guys on social media. Well, that doesn't mean that you aren't going to resonate. Also, like, I think people think, they don't think this, but I think it's like a subconscious thing. Oh, so-and-so is a person who's in the exact same niche space arena as I am, and they have 250,000 followers.
Yeah.
I only have 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
But his 250,000 followers aren't going to be like, if that's their area of interest, they're not going to be like, oh, well, I'm only going to follow this guy and I'm not going to follow this person. If you deliver value, they're going to follow you too, because you're still going to give something that they want to hear about. So it's not that like followers are exclusive. That his 250,000 followers could easily become your followers.
That's it.
And that's just one metric, obviously, followers.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a really important point that it's like, it's not that just because they're following someone else, they can't follow you too. Yeah. So I think that kind of like defeats that idea that just because someone else is doing really good in the same space doesn't mean that there's no room for you. Yeah. And to be encouraged that like you can do it too.
Absolutely. And this kind of goes into the next question I want to ask, which is really kind of fitting, is why do audiences crave authenticity? And I think from my perspective, it's just because we're all tired of that curated, too filtered aspect of people's lives and people's content. I'm exhausted of seeing people just trying to make life this perfect thing, the holidays, the boats, the cars. There was back in the day the trend of everybody going to Dubai, hiring a McLaren and taking pictures in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Now it's all about just bringing people into the journey of, for example, yesterday, right? Shout out to Stephen Bartlett. He, for the first time ever, showed his girlfriend on camera.
Yeah.
Right? He decided to make a step in a direction of where, hey, you've followed me for so long and you've heard me reference my girlfriend for so long. Let me bring you into that next step of my privacy that I want you to see, and bring you into what that looks like, how I manage my relationship alongside the 10 businesses that I have, the content filming, the flight story project that he's got going on. The idea is going, hey, I don't want to just show people that I have money and I have all these things. I want to show them how I go through my day-to-day in maintaining those things and acquiring more.
What is normal life like?
Right, what
is
normal life,
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think coming back to what you were saying about like, are people tired of that overproduced content? I think it's also that it's like become trends. Like certain things have become trends, like that, like going and having a photo shoot with a car that isn't yours actually. So it's like, why are you having a photo shoot with a car that's not yours? Do you know what I mean? Like it's a bit odd actually when you think about it. But we do it because social media has like said that is like society and social media have said that looks good.
If you don't do it, you're not part of the crew. You're not part of the inner circle.
You don't look.
You haven't arrived.
Yeah, and it's like actually. There's like beauty in a bit of privacy, right?
Oh my God. It's the new trend, I'm telling you.
Like what you were just saying. Yeah. It's like now Stephen Bartlett has shown his girlfriend. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's like less into a little bit of his personal life. He's mentioned his girlfriend before on Dragon's Den. And now here she is.
There we go.
But I think like 100%, it's like when it comes to the sort of curated stuff, it also comes back to the point I was saying earlier. It's like some people really are like that, right? Like this friend of mine.
Yeah.
She is beautiful all the time. She is put together all the time because she's super slow. And like she just goes through life at a leisurely pace and does her thing.
Yeah.
And, I remember her boyfriend saying to me, gosh, she just takes so long. Whereas it's so funny. Gav used to always like praise me like, gosh, I've never known any woman to get ready as quick as you. But it's because I'm just like the opposite. I'm just like, woo, let's get going.
So good.
And I think like it comes down to that. Like at the end of the day, there are some of these people who fit into those brackets. But I think so many people have tried to present themselves then in that way. And I'm not saying like I don't want to have like a nice photo of me from time to time again where I like look put together and stuff like that. Of course I do. But I think that some of the trends that have been set by the Molly Mays, the Kardashians, like these big like players in the space, they've sort of set trends, and then people have like become like mini versions of them, and that's the brand that they've presented online. And I think that's fine if that's the true you and it's what you really are. But I think what people are tired of when it comes to your question, like why do audiences crave authentic content now, is because they're so used to seeing stuff that maybe doesn't really add up, or like so many people become creators. So like so many people are, and this kind of goes against what we're trying to say, which is like anyone has a space. Yes, you do. But like, I think sometimes like people will start like a channel and they haven't got the experience to talk about the things that they're talking about. And then there's like all these creators out here or people with online courses and things like that. And it's like, actually, do you have the experience or do you have the ability to talk about what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I think that has created a bit of a lack of trust or distrust in people online, that like when you see something, you don't necessarily believe, well, it's like not everything you read is true. Not everything you see is true.
Yeah.
And I think that has caused a bit of skepticism.
Sure.
But I think the way that we sort of like overcome that is like, if you're a creator, figure out ways within your strategy in terms of like how you want to, whether it's for your business accounts or your personal accounts, to kind of let people in to like who you really are or what it is you're trying to do. And you might find that that will actually really resonate with people. So you might find that if you sort of start to share some of that behind the scenes content, like we've had clients who've got very like, and this works for some people, so they've got very professional corporate sort of style accounts. So they're just focusing on like the business, right? And then occasionally they'll share something like a moment with their family or like a special moment in their life. And then that post really does well. And it's because people are really like, wow, they've been let into that bit of their story and they're excited for them. They feel like they're on the journey. It's the sort of social element of social media where people like to celebrate one another. And it can be on the negative side as well, like sharing a hard truth of a reality moment. But all of this is kind of, it all plays into just being your true self. And then for businesses, I think it's about sharing the behind the scenes stuff, can be like sharing your testimonials, because then it's real reflections of what people actually think. And that's why video testimonials are so good, because there's real truth in like, oh, that's someone actually talking about your product or service, versus like, and UGC content. That's why UGC content is so on the rise, because it's someone saying a real honest reflection about your product or service. And I think that can be really, really powerful for a business brand, because it's actually giving you the credibility of the claims you're making in words by having that sort of supporting content.
I love that. And also, I think if people are finding it challenging to know how to communicate the thing that they have value to share about, and ask them, hey, what else do you want to hear? What do you want to know about? I think one of the
engage with them.
Yeah, exactly, and just ask them questions. But also, as recently I've seen a lot of people do a get ready with me live streams on Instagram in the morning.
Yeah.
We have somebody that we follow together. She will do an Instagram live in the morning when she gets ready, gets her makeup done. Literally, you can see her bedroom, her makeup set. And all she does is, hey, while I'm getting ready, how can I be helpful to you? Here's a little peek of what my morning is like. And in the meantime, you can come and ask me all the questions that you want in 15, 20 minutes. And I can do it in such an authentic way that doesn't show me fully glammed up, dressed up, ready. But it's actually bringing you into kind of my world of, this
like
is what my morning looks like.
You're in a circle.
Yeah.
And I think, basically that kind of started on TikTok. Basically, TikTokers doing like the whole like talking about something whilst getting ready. But it's actually a really useful way to film content, because it kind of takes the pressure away from filming the content, because you're getting ready at the same time. And like you said, it's that sort of like raw content. It's like unpolished, unedited, behind the scenes. Or like if you're doing it as a live, even better. But I think it's coming back to like, why do people crave it? They just want to have a taste. They want that social element of social media again, even though the introduction of like ads and like marketing within social media may have taken that away. And we're not saying that's a bad thing. It's just learning how to balance. How do you leverage social media advertising? Like Facebook ads, Meta ads, Instagram ads. Like, how do you leverage all of that, and like the call to actions and the pulling people into like your business, like using your social media as a shop window, but at the same time being authentic and real and not too salesy. And that's really what we help people do, isn't it? Because that's what with all that we do, and the reason we kind of support people through our like signature package. We try to help businesses, brands, and personal brands use social media as like the front end of their sales machine.
Absolutely.
But we want to help them do it in a way that resonates, is reflective of their brand, reflective of who they are. So we don't want them to post content for content's sake.
That's it.
We're less bothered about likes and stuff, but we're more concerned with, are they getting an ROI? Are they getting clicks? Are they getting sales? But the way to do that, there's like a way that you can do it in a way that sort of holds those two things in your hand and doesn't make it too salesy. And you still can have an authentic presence and still push people to your business or your brand or wherever they need
Absolutely.
to go.
And also, people don't want to be sold all the time, right?
Yeah.
We often talk about when people create content, they also want to see an ROI on the time they've given you. If they give you 5 minutes watching a live or watching a YouTube video or a reel, the question is, what do they take away by the time they finish? Because if they take away nothing, the chance of them coming back is probably pretty low.
Well, it's like comes down to the thing of like what's more precious to some people, not all people, but some people, what's more precious, money or time? And for some people, time is more precious than money, because maybe money is a resource that they can leverage. So maybe they're your ideal client. So if your ideal client is someone who's time poor but money has got money to spend, then like you said, that 5 minutes for them is really important. So if they've used time consuming your content, giving you their attention, you want them to receive something from that and then want to go on the journey, or they want to follow you or engage with you or look deeper. I think that's so important, and I think that sort of pans into like everything that we're going to be kind of going into in this podcast. But it also kind of links back to this sort of topic. So moving the question on a little bit, just to go deeper, can brands, like business brands, be authentic, or is authenticity only for personal brands?
No, absolutely. They can. I think it just comes down to being absolutely transparent and human.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, brands can very easily dehumanize a product or a service and create such a high level barrier to entry that people might feel, oh, this is not for me. I can't even step a foot in. You know, in this area or this niche or this brand, or, you know, I have been thinking about hiring or working with a video marketing agency, but, maybe I don't know if my brand is ready for them to manage. You know, the question actually is, there's never a better time to start than now. And, you know, you've heard me talk about this a lot. It's like imperfect action it. There's what is better than you just failing forward and realizing that actually, it's not what I thought. Okay, on to the next thing. Or it could be the biggest opportunity of your life to actually fall into something that you know you could do. You just didn't have the right tools. And for us with these studios, you know, with our team, we are so good, and we've worked with so many brands that have had a similar thought of, I'm not sure how to navigate it. And our team has come in and gone, hey, you just need a little push, a little pull here.
A little encouragement sometimes. Like, I think it's like sometimes you need someone, you can't, it's like, it's something you can't do it yourself, but sometimes you need someone in your corner to push you along, to give you that motivation, like to not get stuck in your mind. It's so easy to get stuck in your mind. Absolutely. But when it comes to like brands and businesses, I think you can, it doesn't even need to have a face, but if you can use faces to do this, but you want to be real, you want to be transparent, you can make your content conversational, storytell, and you can do that without having to show the faces of the owners. You can use user-generated content. You can use your team, employee-generated content. You can use stock footage. There's so many things you can do. You can use AI these days. The possibilities are endless. And we can talk about some brands that are doing this really well, like Red Bull. Like they show an experience through all of their content, which makes it enjoyable. You want to listen to it. Not listen to it, you want to watch it. The thing is, Red Bull's just an energy drink, right? But their whole brand is like Red Bull gives you wings. So it's like all their content's about like action-packed adventure and all of that. But I think what's interesting is maybe not everyone who follows Red Bull because they like the content actually probably drinks Red Bull. Because if you're health conscious, you might not drink Red Bull.
Absolutely.
Right? But at the same time, you enjoy Red Bull's content, and that's building Red Bull's brand. And Red Bull are now known as like great creators.
That's it.
Right?
But it could also be for somebody that like skydiving. Red Bull also does that, or Formula One.
But then, of course, like Red Bull then have brand deals. So that it's not just about the energy drinks for Red Bull. They've got a bigger campaign in play. They do, like you said, they sponsor loads of things. And that's amazing for them. So I think what we're trying to say is, however your strategy works, it's going to be different for every business or every brand, but you can still curate authentic content that's relatable, even if you're a business. It's not just for personal brands.
And I guess what we want to add here, and this is probably one of the most important pieces, is when you start, be consistent.
Yes.
Such a massive keyword. Don't give up. Often people, when they start creating content or they start telling their story, because of maybe not getting enough views or likes or engagement, that might think, oh, this doesn't resonate. Give it time. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep falling forward. The biggest thing you can do for yourself is create feedback loop and every single day learn what is one thing I can do better. Yeah. Am I communicating my message clearly? Is it visually appealing? Is it sharing everything I want to say?
And the internet never forgets in one sense. And yet, at the same time, social media is like a feed.
Yeah.
A constant feed. So it's not valuable. Like sometimes I think people think, oh, I'll work really, really hard on this one piece of content, this one video. I'll put all this time and energy into this one content piece. I'll pop that content piece out and then I won't post for 2 weeks. And then I'll post another content piece. Now, I'm not saying for some strategies, less frequent posting is okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to stay in the mind of your target audience, you're going to want to post regularly.
Absolutely.
And it's not that, like, we help clients create content that every piece of content is great, impactful, does something. And yet there's this sort of like balance of perfection and understanding that you don't need to overthink and you don't need to like painfully not move forward. Like you don't want to not move the ball forward. It's better to post more frequently and keep the content going and keeping up with that strategy and being consistent and it being in your mind a little bit less than perfect and still good enough than trying to create a perfect piece of content every time and then only posting once a week. Because if you do that, you're going to end up just basically not progressing. You're not going to have the traction. You're not going to move forward. There's no speed in what you're doing. And we're talking to people and businesses and brands that are trying to grow. So we're not talking to people who right now who are, you know, if you've already got a really strong platform, there's a bit more grace for you in all of that, in the sense that like there's some like celebrities, for example, they could post once a fortnight and they're still going to get the traction because people care about them. Justin Bieber, like,
they've built that authority,
but they have that luxury because they've built their brand off the back of success elsewhere. So that's different to someone who's coming up and building something. So don't compare yourself to them. Like compare yourself to yourself.
That's it.
And based on your truth, your reality, what do you need to do? And that's what we help people do. We'll help you build a strategy around where you are in your personal journey. And it will be different based on where you are on that journey.
I love that. That's such a good thought. Don't compare your day 1 to someone's day 20.
Yeah,
right?
That's it.
Such a good thought. And I think the point also there is that in the part of creating the content, people, your audience will almost create that expectation for themselves to go, oh, they post every Thursday or they go live every Monday. They kind of are almost like eager and waiting to see what you're going to say and how that's going to influence them. So, you know, just be cautious that actually once you start, there are people that will expect for you to come up with another thing or hear more about.
They're expecting you to follow through.
That's it. Yeah.
I wrote down this for, and I think it kind of ties it all up, is there's a difference between authenticity and calculated relatability. So sometimes we see this calculated relatable content, and like the example you gave right at the beginning about the mum who's like curating all her content, or like people who are like saying like doing my days in the life or things like that. Like that's relatable, but it's curated. Is it the same as authentic? It's kind of like we see it in the bracket of authentic content, but actually it's slightly different. And so I think what you want to be doing is, as part of your strategy for social media, curate content that aligns with your brand. For some brands, this sort of like authentic, laid back style of content is going to work. But for some, like if you're, I'm trying to think of a niche, but like, I don't know, if if you're a hedge fund manager and you want to advise other hedge fund managers, it might not make sense for you to do a day in the life and start brushing your teeth.
Yes, of course.
But if you're sharing your journey of like entrepreneurship and the come up, it might. So I think it's like understanding your target audience, understanding your brand, understanding who you are, understanding your place in the marketplace. Once you define, your niche doesn't have to be really niche. It can be broader niche, but understanding who are your target audience, your avatar, understanding content pillars around who you're trying to reach. Like that's always the starting point. It's like, what are the people that you're trying to target? What are their pain points? What are they struggling with? What do they need help with? What are their things that encourage them? Like view them and then create content around what they need. And then you're going to build something that's not only authentic to you and what you're trying to deliver, helping solve the issues or move things along for those people, but you're also it's going to suit your brand. So that's what I would say. Just because something's a trend doesn't mean you have to jump on it. And just because it works for some brands doesn't mean it'll work for your brand. So try to kind of like remove the authenticity trend out of your mind and try to just be the real you. Like a real representation of your business and show up online as a true representation of who you are. And I feel like you'll go further.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about it is where you start now is not where you're always going to be. It's progressive and the storytelling continues. You learn more, you develop more. And so long you bring people alongside with you on that journey, they will probably stay for longer and ultimately engage and, buy from you or work with you. Or if not that, just stick with you through that journey.
Yeah, that's really what community building is all about.
Absolutely.
So I love this episode.
Absolutely.
Great start to the podcast. We'll be back with episode 2 next week.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure all the links will be below. So you can like, you can subscribe if you're watching this. And if you're listening, make sure to give the little subscribe button on your chosen podcast provider, because that's going to help us know that you like this content.
Absolutely. Well, great start. See you in the next episode.